Recently, Bobby and I were driving along in the car, an hour away from our destination. We chatted about various matters, our kids and grandkids, people at church, before lapsing into that comfortable silence you enjoy with someone you've loved for a long time. Then, just out of the silence, Bobby turned to me suddenly and said, "Do you ever feel overwhelmed?" I had no doubt she was thinking about the Colour Conference for Women that she leads each year, burdened by God's Spirit to create a conference that focused on how much He loves and values all women. Bobby has seen the Colour Conference grow into an international event drawing thousands and thousands of women from around the world. Knowing this year's event was quickly approaching, along with the many other people and concerns she was juggling in her heart, I knew exactly where her question was coming from. As soon as she asked the question, without hesitating, I answered, all the time. To be honest, we've never known a time when we haven't felt out of our depth. When we were young, we didn't have the resources or the experience to feel confident in what we were doing, so we had to rely on God each and every day. Then, when we got a few years under our belt, both our family and our church family began growing and developing, and this always kept us on our toes, improvising under God's grace, looking to Him for guidance, provision, and protection. Then, as He has entrusted more responsibilities and resources to us, we feel even more overwhelmed. We could never do what we do by ourselves, not even with the thousands of amazingly gifted people who join us in advancing the kingdom. But God keeps calling us, and we keep answering and acting on the prompting of His Spirit. And He's been more than faithful in providing all we've needed and more. But it's never been through our own power, talents, abilities, or influence. Perhaps you too can feel overwhelmed. Maybe you feel trapped, caught in a cycle of tasks and bills and deadlines, and not enough hours in the day. Life is certainly full of overwhelming moments, especially for those of us who want to do something worthwhile with our lives, to live with a sense of purpose. So often people look for answers and busy in themselves with pursuits that end up draining them of energy and leave them fiercely lacking in motivation. And yet there is a better way to live. The Bible has so much to say about living in grace, knowing, walking, and living in the undeserved favor of a kind and merciful God. The Bible is full of characters who felt out of their depth at times, inadequate for the task placed in front of them. Men and women overwhelmed by the purpose set before them and the call God placed upon their lives. People like Mephibosheth, who was a foreigner in a king's house, Moses, who was slow in speech, David, who was just a mere shepherd boy, even a prostitute named Rahab, who was asked to betray her own people in order to save her family and trust a God she barely knew. Time and time again, no matter who it is, they were all overwhelmed, and yet God gave them sufficient grace to fulfill their unique purpose and calling. I have to trust He does the same for you and me today. When the Apostle Paul asked God to remove his thorn in the flesh, a recurrent struggle, God answered him by saying, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness," which in turn prompted Paul to write, "Therefore most gladly I will rather boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me."